And then I'll start my camera again. And share screen, desktop. Cool. All right. We are live on YouTube. And then let me share this link with the Slack community,
Mm-hmm.
get them in the know. Heck, I mean, I was thinking about just building the bot in the Slack community so people can actually see in a channel. I'm going to create a new channel for you and I. Um, the code name that I came up with is Clarity because literally we're clarifying the images over time.
Nice.
If you like that name,
Yeah, totally.
Clarity bot build. Okay, I'm inviting you to the channel and then we'll make a general post. Okay, cool. We are set. We are live and let's go ahead and just talk about what we're going to be building today. So I wish I had a good screenshot. I've never played the Mario game that you're talking about before, where the image starts blurry and then everyone gets to kind of guess, and the person that guesses before the image is totally clear is the winner.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the idea with this Slackbot game. We're going to be using OpenAI generated images, of course, and they'll be super silly. So it'll be difficult to kind of understand that the image is in fact a lo-fi cartoon picture of a penguin on the beach. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like that. And over time, I think we'll just play around with parameters, but maybe every 30 seconds or 15 seconds, we'll gradually um, unblur, clarify the image, hence the name ClarityBot. Um, yeah. So, I mean, this is just like a basic document that describes kind of like the project. It looks like a lot, but we have prior art here, and I think it'll go by pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Totally.
yeah, yeah. So prereq, these are just like the setup things. We need to create the Pipedream project, which we have here. This Clarity Slackbot game. So we check that one off. We need to create a Slack bot, which you have to go to api.slack.com to do so. It's right here. And up here in the top right, you can just find this create new app. I prefer from scratch. I've never actually used the app manifest. I don't know if you have before.
Yeah, it's cool for programmatically generating similar apps because there's an API endpoint that allows you to post an app manifest. So like the app manifest is just YAML. So then you can, programmatically modify it and then just post to create the new bot. Obviously, for one-off bots like this doesn't make sense, but we could post the app manifest for ours, then other people can see the exact setup. It's also useful, I think, for that.
Oh, I did not know that. That is
And you
really
just
neat.
scrub, it does contain the endpoint URLs. So, like if you post events to a
Hmm.
Pipedream workflow, we could scrub that. But overall, it's kind of nice to share that template.
That's cool. Yeah, I had no clue. So yeah, at the very end of this, we could share the manifest, and you yourself can use the manifest and probably within a Pipedream workflow with your connected Slack account, send an API request with this manifest to bootstrap this project for yourself. Um, that's neat. But for this case, we'll use from scratch because we're starting this brand new bot. Call it Clarity, and then we'll pick the Pipedream users workspace so that way y'all can play with it. Um, so the first thing I try to do is install the app. Um, One of the things that you'll need to do as part of that is define permissions. I mean, I guess you could mix up the order because Slack makes it so easy to install an app after you've changed permissions. But for me, I don't want to reinstall multiple times. So I'm just going to go ahead and add OAuth access scopes. Um, in this case, we need to be able to read app mentions, I suppose. Oh no, not app mentions, just regular messages, right? So we could search for messages.
Mhm. Yeah, because I assume the other bot you built will just want to start a thread and then not have to at mention the bot, but just have the guesses go in that thread, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go off a memory here of which scope is needed to read all messages in a channel. To make it a little bit difficult to read here.
Search for messages,
Messages.
channel history, I believe.
Oh, interesting. So as long as the bot has been added to that channel, it can view the messages that are public. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Would not have thought to look up channels colon history, but that's how it goes with these things.
It's always, yeah, always fun
Yeah.
dealing with Slack scopes.
All right. So now we have what I believe are the basic permissions that we'll need. We need to send messages. I'm not sure if reactions are. Oh, I should be able to do reactions. So that way we could do like a congratulations, you won on
Hmm.
the winner's message. So we'll add
I
that.
like that
And
real-time feedback too for just guesses of like, an X or something just to show like it's a wrong guess.
exactly. Yeah. So at least you have the feedback of knowing that the message was received and processed. Otherwise, it's hard to tell for people to even know if there's a bug and your answer was never even received. Just a nice kind of UI pattern that you should always follow. Um, great. So let's install it in our workspace. Cool. And then if I head back on over to our workspace here, ClarityBot is the channel where we're going to be playing around. Will I get spoilers? No, Danny, you will not. No, because we'll create brand new images for Friday. We're going to be probably just building around one image in particular for the proof of concept, and then uh, we will do brand new images for Friday. So we need to invite our bot, right? At apps this channel. And hopefully we could find our new Clarity bot. Ta-da, right there. So it's really,
Probably just
I'm just,
building one.
oh, I think it was a delay of some feedback there. We're all good. Cool. So we have our bot user token, which we'll use to authenticate our bot with. And we probably want to register a shortcut too to start the game and interactivity and such. But let's look at our doc again before I get too lost in the weeds here. So we created a Slack bot. We assigned the permissions, leave reactions, update messages, that whole thing. Installed the Slack bot, and now we just design kind of like the state machine or the data store uh, state of the game and the current round. Um, it might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I think it'll help in the long run if we just kind of design what this will look like. So Clarity bot. This will be our data store. And a data store, for those who don't know, is like a simple key value store. Think of like Redis or think of like, man, Redis is always the one that comes out to me. What's
Yeah,
the one that AWS?
DynamoDB, um,
DynamoDB.
yeah, Cloudflare has their own key value store. Yeah.
Or literally an object. If you ever used an object before in any language, uh, this is the same thing, or an array if you're a PHP guy, um, guy or gal. So let's design this. We're going to have a current round, right? Maybe we just start with images, just an array of images that we know we're going to build around. So an image by OpenAI Dolly always ends in a dot ping. And my silly example that came off my head in the very beginning of this show was a penguin on a beach, sun tanning or something like that.
Yeah, so do you want to have the images pre-generated so that they're ready to use for the game? Is that the idea?
That was my initial thought.
Yeah,
We could do it in real time, but it just adds more risk to
I
the
agree.
operation.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Because it'll take like 30 seconds sometimes to create the image, right? I don't know what the
mhm.
latest latency on the Dolly endpoints are, but I agree. I mean, we could then store the you may not even need to store the image references in a data store because if we store the images themselves in a file store, we could just do the directory listing and grab a random image from that directory too.
Right. So the only reason why I was thinking about adding the images as an array was so that we can remove images that have already been played against. That way you don't get redundant images.
Yeah, I guess you'd want to keep them in the file store. Um,
I guess you
yeah,
can move them to a different directory, like already seen.
yeah,
But
yeah. But it's fine.
it's
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll start this way. If it's extra, we can always play around. So yeah, like the data stores accept arrays, they accept anything that's JSON serializable. So we have one image in our images directory here. I might even do like all available images. I did this for the other game I built with Slack, where I had like a total all images, and then ones that have already been played, they kind of pop them off and update um, a different array, just so that you're not getting redundant cases. Um, great. So the other thing we need to store is a thread TS. And if you've never built a Slack bot before, timestamps are kind of like IDs. So if you want to add a reply to a message, you're going to need to specify the exact timestamp of the original message. It's kind of a wonky API, but once you get the hang of it, it is very handy to just be able to store it. Use a timestamp as a reference. So we'll store the timestamp of the initial image posted to the channel as the thread, the game thread. Um, oh, I can't store null. That's funny. All right. Did not know that. Today I learned.
Yeah, null is actually not. Is it valid? No, we
It's probably
forget
treated like a
if
string.
we treat it differently on the API side or not. Anyway.
Yeah. So either way, empty string is falsy in JavaScript, so that's fine. Great. So let's see here. Guesses. We probably need to store the prompt that generated the image. Or, we could just use straight up the prompt as the file name with,
Hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we don't need that. So let's just start with these three basic ones and see how we go from there. This, as if with everything in programming, you could kind of like design on the fly to based on what you're learning. Great. So let's make our first ever sample image this project file store. I'm going to head over to OpenAI. Hopefully, I can find Dolly 3 easily. They kind of made it hard to find if you guys haven't used Dolly in a while. Yeah, ChatGPT versus API. I want Dolly. Hmm, I don't see Dolly. Let's try this
So
again.
if you go back to ChatGPT, go to
Uh-huh.
the ChatGPT 3.5 section at the top,
And
and
now
then
with Dolly.
you can um, ask it to now just generate an image, right? And provide the prompt. And Dolly should take over.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I just always search for the Dolly login specifically.
I think you can also, if you go to the Open API, the OpenAI API Explorer, I think it's platform.openai.com. And then, yeah, go to the API. And on the left, the far left nav, um, playground. Yeah, chat. Does the Dolly model show up there?
Um,
Maybe they don't have a
You
Dolly
can do vision
playground.
preview. Yeah, I guess Dolly's not available, but the vision preview is really neat for uploading images and doing general queries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but not for generating images here. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see if did that work? Cool. So we have a very this reminds me of like Fisher. What's that one thing back in the 90s when we were kids? Like the girls had this like almost like leopard print, like highlighted brand thing. Oh, you
Oh
remember
yeah.
what is that brand called? It's like
Um,
backpacks and stuff.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't recall the brand name.
Maybe OpenAI can remember. What
I bet
is
OpenAI
the
could remember.
popular 90s brand of clothing? I think it was clothing targeting young girls with Technicolor Technicolor designs, leopard print. Submit. Of course. I don't know why OpenAI does that. Anyway, so I'm going to download this image. It's
Lisa
kind of a
Frank,
bit of it.
that is it.
Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Lisa Frank. Yeah, so this is basically a Lisa Frank penguin in this style. Yep,
Yep.
leopards is what I remembered. Um, yeah, looks cool. So I download the image and we're going to go back to our project. So a data store, I should probably say this as well. You notice on the left-hand nav, a data store is like at the global level. It's not within a project. A data store is accessible from all of your workflows across all of your projects. Whereas file stores are a little bit different. So file stores are only grouped with your current project. So all of the workflows we create in here can access the file store within this particular project, yet the data store is global, so I can access the data store globally. It's a little wonky. One of these days, I think we'll merge the two so that data stores are within projects as well. But just an FYI, just so you know that the difference between those two. So let's go back to our downloads, get our lovely penguin here. Um, I'm surprised it's a wweb.p format. I don't think I want that. I think I want the ping format. And it downloads in W. That's weird.
I think
I'll just
Slack will accept WebP, but yeah, we can always convert with preview.
there we go. Oh, WP. Huh. Let's see here. Let's export as a ping for now. Heck, we can probably do this with Sharp. Let's just do this in the workflow. Extra cool. Plus, you don't want to do this manually for every single new image we create. That would be kind of a
See if
pain.
Slack will accept the WebP, because I think that's a format that um, is relatively universal now. So
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead down this path with WebP, see what the limitations are. Probably none. I'm just wary of newer file formats that are not ping. All right. So we uploaded the file. Ta-da. Penguin sunbathing.wp. Cool. So this is now uploaded to our file store, which is just simple file storage within your workflows. And we can create our new workflow that will process Dolly images, because we can iterate over all images in a workflow. I'm not going to set a automatic trigger here. If you don't set a trigger, you can have this little run now button when you deploy this workflow that allows you to just run it without any specific trigger, just manually. And then we need to actually iterate over the images in our data store or file store. Um, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we should simplify this and just accept one image for now and then iterate later. So we'll just process image, blurify image. So the first step is to actually open the image. So the original, what I'll call it. And within your Node.js code steps, there's this really cool helper called .files that allows you to open a given file. And what do we name this thing again? Let's see here. That's right here. Penguin sunbathing.wp. So what's going on here is it's opening the file at this path. And then we can do this to a buffer. I know when I first started playing with file stores, I had no idea the difference between a buffer and a stream and all that kind of different constructs in Node.js. But a buffer is essentially just a just-in-time kind of data stream of the image. So instead of saying to string, which would convert this image blob into like a long string, and you have to wait for the entire string to be put into memory, a buffer will process a small chunk of that image on the go, which is really nice with Sharp because Sharp from Sharp. Sharp supports buffers. My gosh, import Sharp from Sharp. Mixing too much Python and Node.js recently. Sharp can process buffers on the go using streams, and that not only increases the processing time, but also reduces the memory allocated needed to process an image, which is really neat. So let's head on over to Sharp. And again, Sharp is this really cool library that allows you to do crazy things. You can resize images. You can actually overlay images on top of one another. You can generate titles. You can flatten, sharpen. I mean, there's so much you can do. It's basically like a Photoshop API. Although I wouldn't try to use it as a Photoshop replacement, but you can do image operations programmatically with this library. And it is supported within Pipedream out of the box. So we want to blur this image, right? So blur the image. When used without parameters, it performs a fast blur. And if it can perform a slower blur. So hopefully it's not just blur speed, but it's also blurring amount. I hope so. We'll find out. Let's just try the default blur. Await sharp blur. So the input will be our original buffer. And if you don't call, if you don't call to buffer with sharp, it'll automatically return or to string. I mean, what is I looking at it over here? To buffer. We do want to buffer, I believe. To buffer, just like our file. And then we can import a built-in package called pipeline from stream promises. And stream is just a built-in node package that handles streaming data. So we can wait for the pipeline to download the original, blur it, and then you can even upload it. And how do we upload it? We can do upload equals original create. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to create a new file to upload this too. So we'll do files.open, and then the penguin sunbathing blurred.webp. Create write stream. Now, hopefully this works. And it creates a brand new image in our file store. What did I screw up? I must have screwed up something here. Await sharp blur to buffer. One of these is a promise
Can
or
you
an
do await
object.
the open?
Oh, right. Good call. Yeah, so files that open by itself is synchronous, but any operations you call after it will need to be awaited for. Oh, I need to charge put my laptop battery in. I've got a second laptop cable, one for home, one for here. It's before I had that issue where I didn't have a cable around. Okay, let's go to our project file store and see if that actually worked. It's a little blurred, right? There's the blurred version. Here's the original. Look at that. So yeah, it programmatically blurred them.
Very, very lightly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't be a very fun game if you could just tell what this is right off the bat. So let's clean this up a little bit. First of all, we're going to have to find a way to have a naming convention. We can't just copy and paste the same name and then for every single blur iteration also, do like, I don't know, something like, say if we adjust it by 10, have something like this so it's a lookupable in a programmatic way, maybe just like this. So what we need to do is define variable names. So the first variable name I would say is the file name, which is penguin sunbathing, right? Now I could dry this up a little bit. File name. I already noticed my first kind of issue I need to do. I need to make sure that we separate the extension from what would you call this? The path?
The
No, it's not the path.
yeah, I mean it's the name portion of the file name.
Yeah, we'll just call it name. And here we can kind of just assume all of the files will be this w webp. Don't forget the dollar sign. That'll concat or sorry, interpolate. It'll interpolate the file name here. And we do the same thing over here. Interpolate the name of the file with this blurred. And we need to define a blur amount, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, try to
5 was
adjust
not
the
very much.
sigma to the highest value and just see what happens. I'm curious. A
It
thousand.
did say it did say 1,000 was the biggest one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Over 1,000. Well, exactly 1,000. 1,000? Oh no, sorry. Blur amount and blur amount. So we're passing the blur amount as a variable, and we're going to programmatically generate the file name so that way we can kind of like look it up in the game itself when it needs to, on a timer, reduce the amount of blur. We can have a expected convention for this game to look it up and say, okay, we'll start at 1,000, then we'll bring it down to 750, then we'll bring it down to 500, all the way to 0. And if people can't get it by 0, then our prompt is just way too hard. Um, I'm surprised this is taking a little bit longer. Got a timeout.
I think it will take longer the longer the sigma. Try to give it a slightly lower value.
Yeah, let's try like 900. It might, so like for those who don't know about like the Pipedream internals, when you're developing workflows, it's a different environment than your production workflows. Like in the production environment, you can control the amount of RAM, the timeout, those kind of settings, which is helpful with Sharp because Sharp, they even say in their documentation, it uses quite a bit of RAM. They recommend around like 1.5 gigs. Whereas in this environment, this development environment, we can't control necessarily the amount of RAM. We're just given a default. And unfortunately, at this time, I don't know what it is, but we might be hitting the detail, like hitting the limit of this with blurring, um, unfortunately. So we might have to like do a small amount of blur in development, and then production up this amount and run it. I hope not. I hope we can find a nice happy medium here, but we'll find out. Maybe it would help to also resize the image before we get to this point, but it's really not that big. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
361 kilobytes, not too large.
Did you adjust
Um,
the timeout? Did you increase the timeout of the workflow too?
does that apply in testing?
It will. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just be a little crazy here. Give it one and a half, at least 1.5 gigs, like Sharp suggests. Try this again.
May take just a sec for you to get the new JIT with the new set. Well, the JIT has a fixed memory still for the tested environment, but the timeout, yeah, should adjust based on that setting.
And JIT is Pipedream speak for just in time. So this workflow is being compiled with your npm packages just in time for you to make these tests. Whereas your production workflows, they're kind of pre-processed and built when you do a deployment, aka saving something and then pressing deploy. That is a slightly different build process, and it kind of like pins all of your npm packages to that point in time at deployment. I think that's accurate, right, Dylan? For the
Mm-hmm.
most part. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do
Um,
some interesting, on deploy, since it does take roughly like 90 seconds, I would say on average, to build the final container that contains all the workflow code and all the packages. For a short period of time, the test environment that you were using to develop your workflow just before you hit the deploy button is technically used to handle executions. And then we swap in the final production build as soon as that's ready, since there's just a 90-second gap between the time you finish the workflow and the time that that's ready.
huh. That's good to know. Um, so the result that worked, we have a result. It is very blurred. Like
Nice.
that is a beautiful Miami sunset. That is not a penguin at the beach, but if you can guess penguin at the beach from this image, you are telepathic. Um, Maybe another version of AI that's way more advanced than us. But yeah, that's too much. We can keep playing with this amount, and it might also decrease the processing time. That was a pretty
Do like
long time.
100. I'm curious how quickly it adjusts. I want to read more about the algorithm too, but yeah,
Yeah, and
curious what something like 100 will be.
they'll try that. And then the other optimization I'm going to make quickly here is this create write stream accepts the content file type, which will assign the content file type to the new image. The old image we know it's implicit, so the new one we need to assign one so that way I don't have to download the image every single time I want to look at it in the file store. So if you notice, like when I go click on this one, for example, there's no content type assigned yet. So it just treats it like a download, even though the file extension is .webp. That's not really how object storage works in cloud systems. You need to define a content type. Um, cool. So it did process much more quickly, and hopefully I didn't screw like image slash w webp is a valid content type. I didn't Google that. Cool. It did open as a new tab. Uh, that's a pretty good start. I mean, it's fast.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
For
We
the
could we
first
could
image, you're thinking,
right.
show people, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? How do you think we should do this next part? Because we obviously had to like iterate and create new versions of this with less blur. We could
Yeah.
do this like by defining like less blur amount, which seems kind of
Yeah.
silly.
Let's go by
Um,
tens and see what happens. I'm curious.
okay, let's
That
go by
looks okay.
tens. Let's see here. So in Node.js, you can't just I guess we can divide by 10. Um, divide by 10, but that would give us a result of 10. I really want an array of like 90, 80, etc.
Show off the AI code gen real quick. Edit
That's
with AI and
perfect.
then just tell it. Yeah.
Yeah. So edit with AI is up here in the top right. It can edit your existing code. So I'm going to ask it, please iterate over blur amount
I would say
divide.
like given the initial blur amount, decrement blur amount by 10, all the way until you reach a blur of 0, right? And then generate an image each time.
Yeah. So you reach 0 and generate a new image with that decreased blurred amount. Hopefully, it's smart enough to realize I want to interpolate that new value into the string. Oh yeah, it's that simple. Because I mean, let's use this code, see how it goes. We can just use this code right here, and then test again. Just let the AI magic work. Um, Most of the time, you're using arrays that have a prefixed amount of records inside of it. It really threw me for a loop to go back to my old school ways of incrementing loops manually within a loop, or as you're iterating over each record. So hopefully, that seems like way too fast, though, right? That seemed really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That too fast. So we have a problem with, let's see here. While blur amount is greater than 0, I wonder if this needs to be wrapped in one big promise.
The pipeline is not, it removed the pipeline. Do you see?
Oh, whoops. Oh, okay. So interesting. It made this assumption that we wanted to download the file. Interesting. Okay, that's not correct. The upload path is that's correct. The upload path to file. Oh, it's saving the file locally to temp. That is interesting. Huh.
Hmm.
It knows about temp. It doesn't know about file stores.
Yeah, it's funny. And I think that may be a failure of the prompt. It's part of the core prompt for the AI code gen, because we do explicitly say, like, you have access to temp. And it knows about the file store, but I think that it just didn't interpret everything correctly. So we'll have to look at that. But
Mm. So let's see here. Can I remember? We need to await the original, or like pipe the original to the blurred image, and then also upload. But we need to await files $, files.open. And then we also need to create a write stream and pass in our image content type. I'm still curious about how this is going to work with multiple pipelines. Part of me thinks this is going to result in like an active handle issue. We might have to return all the promises in order for this to work correctly. Receive 0. Greater than equal to 10, because 10 will be the final blurred amount we can do. 0 means the default image. There's no blur at all. So we're just going to change the floor of this iteration. Kind of shocked that, oh, cool. Look at that.
that's cool.
So it worked. Start at 100. How's that look? Looks good. 90, getting a little bit better. 80, 70. It's pretty dramatic. It's probably gonna be a dramatic amount. Wow.
Yeah, we may want to start closer to like 30, I don't know, 50 maybe.
Yeah.
Decrement by threes or something.
Yeah, because once you start getting to, it looks like it's like legible, seeable around 10.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
somewhere between, yeah, 20 is not too bad.
I think
30
30
is the
may be
limit.
good to start.
Yeah. So we'll play with this. We'll say 30 increment by, what do we say, 5 or 3? What'd you say? 5?
Try three. Try three. I feel like
3?
10 if we're showing the images or updating the image like once every 3 to 5 seconds, then um, we'll play around with all those params, but I feel like that could be good.
Yeah. I'm just making my style is I make config near the top and then apply the config further down. So we can play with this on the go. Let's see here. Cool. So 30 we know is pretty blurry. 28, a little bit less. 24, a little bit less. 21. I mean, you can kind of tell it's a penguin at this point, but
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe not.
You see the
Um,
sun, you see the beach.
right. Yeah. But I think without a prompt, you might not get this, especially
For
with when we
sure.
get to more like funny prompts that are crazy. So I like this. I think we should stick with this.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. So we just did the first portion, which is like pre-process an image, upload the file store, process using Sharp, create multiple versions with varying degrees of blur, and upload them back with a predictable naming convention. Cool. All right. So now we can go on to the meat and potatoes of implementing a game in Slack. My pattern that I follow is starting a game manually and kicking it off. That way you have the control to like mess around with the data store if there's an issue. Just kind of like act like the puppet master in the background in case something goes wrong. And luckily for us, it's so simple to create a slash command. So I headed back on over to api.slack.com. On the left-hand side, you'll see this slash commands feature section. We can create a brand new command, and I'll just say start. Let's say start clarity for sure, or like just to be more specific that this is the clarity bot. And it's asking for a request URL. If only there was some kind of like workflow as a service thing out there that made it really simple to like, I don't know, mess around with webhooks. Can you think of anything, Dylan?
If
Maybe?
only. If only.
We'll say start game. I'll keep the name of the workflow the same as the command just so it's easy for us to look up. So start game and look at that. Oh my gosh. Webhook HTTP support in a workflow. Amazing. And I'm just going to use the defaults here and copy the URL. It's so simple. Oh my gosh. Can you remember like before Pipedream using ngrok and node servers and setting up Express and then
Hmm.
oh wait,
Hmm.
you have to kill the Express server before you can make any changes. Oh wait, oh no, I just closed out my ngrok tunnel and now I have to make a new one. It creates a brand new URL. I have to re-register it everywhere. Pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Total pain. It's much easier here. Your URL persists. This doesn't change. It's in the cloud natively. You don't have to worry about how to deploy this thing. Yeah, it's just so much simpler. So I put that request URL in there and then start a new Clarity game. We could even maybe we add like the file name as an argument. Maybe we'll see. But I think this might be an interesting way to kick
Hmm.
off the game.
Versus randomly retrieving an image.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe it's just optional. Like if you want to
Hmm.
override the random behavior, the less things we have to program, the better when it comes to a brand new proof of concept. So maybe I'll just like have a whatever. Oh, we have to pre-install it. We have to reinstall our app. Pipedream user Slack. Okay, cool. So now we could start a new Clarity game, and I'm gonna head on over to Slack again. I'm just gonna do it right here in the channel, and you can see Slack automatically registered our command and even added our description and our optional parameter there. Beauty. And you can see that Pipedream returned its default message. You can customize this if you want, but in my case, I know what this command is going to do. I don't need it to tell me anything besides success equals true.
Well, let's
Maybe
do
we'll
it.
change our mind.
Let's show people how to remove that completely. So
Mm-hmm.
if you go to configure
Mm-hmm.
and then return a static response.
A static response. Oh, okay. And we
Yep.
could define the response.
200 with an empty body, exactly this. Okay. And then you save and
Okay.
continue. So
Uh,
the Slack expects to receive a 200 and it will signal an error to the person who initiated the Slack command if you don't. But basically, it's nice. This is nice, especially if you have like many users using slash commands. So now if you run start clarity, then we won't actually see anything back. But if you go back to the workflow, you should see a new event just came in, right? So it did kick
Oh,
off. We Pipedream then returns static 200 OK, but there's no content for Slack to render. So there's nothing that shows up in the channel.
oh, interesting. Okay, so if you don't want any of that feedback at all, or if this is really confusing, you could do it this way. Um, I'm just curious now, like, what if you just say game started?
Exactly, right? So any feedback, right, you can do right there.
Yeah. I think you could also, if you want to get really fancy with it, you could probably do uh, blocks, Slack kit blocks in this body. You'd have to make a JSON body and pass the blocks, but in our case, I don't think we need anything more than just a simple flat or simple message. Look at that, game started.
Yep.
Beauty. That's much more readable. Cool. So as we were saying, okay, so what happened under the hood? Slack sent us a webhook to this address, and Pipedream received it, and we could select the event, and we could see all this information. Trying to think here. Probably the most important thing, we could add authorization, make sure only Pierce can start a game. I'm not too worried about that for this first version. We also have the channel ID in which it was started at. That might be useful down the line. We'll see. But this will be our triggering event. I actually don't see much for us to use initially. We just care about creating a new message with the maximum blur, right? Um, so here we can go ahead and use Slack, the Slack app for Pipedream, and send message to a public channel. What do you think we should use here? Should we use a block kit
I want to see if
message?
AI can do this because I feel like
Ah,
because do you want the game to automatically start the timer where we show the first image, wait 5 seconds, show the second image, all the way until someone has successfully given the prompt?
yeah, I think so. So we would need to have code level control so that we could use something like delay or rerun and then cancel it.
Right,
Okay.
right,
Yeah, I see.
right.
Yeah.
Agreed,
Yeah.
agreed. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to see how
So
far the AI can get us because I feel like yeah we could at least the part here that controls retrieving the image from the file store and posting that image to Slack, I feel like could all be done in a single code step.
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Now, and then it could maybe register the delay. And the part that's kind of tripping me up right now is having the workflow rerun until,
Hmm.
you know. So maybe this might lead us to messing with the data store and adding like a has been guessed state, maybe, or like correct the answered true or
Yeah,
false.
yeah,
Well, but let's go
yeah.
ahead.
You
Let's go ahead.
could in every iteration of the loop, you could store the cancel URL for the rerun, and
Mm,
then once someone guess, so like whatever workflow then controls the guesses on successful guess, retrieve the cancel URL, hit that to stop the rerun here, right?
yes. Yep. Because we're gonna have to have a separate workflow that will initiate when users are guessing in the thread.
Right, right. Yeah,
And that will update the data store and say, okay, no more images. We're good. This user got
yeah,
it.
right.
Okay, cool. So we got our wide definition. One workflow to pre-process, one workflow to kick off the game and initiate this looping of deblurifying, clarifying, and then a third workflow for listening to answers from the players. Um, but to get that far, we have to generate the code to send the message in the first place. So let's see here. Given given a image URL. So what's image URL prop that contains a URL to an image, send a message to the what's the name of the channel again? Block clarify bot. It might require a channel ID. I don't remember exactly.
Clarity bot, yeah.
Clarity bot. Clarity bot with the image and store the message ID or message timestamp within the data store. Oof. I don't know. Your I feel like your AI foo prompt foo is much stronger than mine. You have
Yeah.
any
Um,
recommendations?
so I like to give it really clear numbered instructions because I'm envisioning the loop in my head too. So like I
Mm,
think you could start with yeah, give it an image prop. Um yes, yeah, I think it's nice to separate that. Um but there's the first part of the code, yeah, it does need to be different, right? Because we send the first image to start the thread. You want to save the thread TS, well, the message TS from that, and that's step one, right? And then the next iteration through the loop, I guess you could have that outside the loop, and then you start the loop, right? Every
mhm.
5 seconds, we do the delay. And you can do it just within Node.js too. I guess we don't need to. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think how we'll control the reruns.
Should we do the reruns in a different step?
I
Because
think so. Yeah, yeah. Because we don't want so for viewers, rerun functionality, programmatic rerun functionality in Pipedream, it'll actually execute the full step every time. So if you choose to rerun a step, you can't actually say within this specific part of the code rerun from this point. Now you can control a lot of that logic in code to skip part of a step if it's already been run. But the default behavior, like Pierce is showing, if you call $.flow.rerun, it'll run the step from start to finish. So I agree, Pierce. I think we should have that first message happen outside of a step. And I think what you were thinking originally, where we used just the Slack action, may be good. So that kicks off the first image, and then from there we will do that logic where we iterate through and rerun. Yeah.
okay. All right.
What
So
do you
we'll
think?
simplify this a little bit. I like that. I like it. The nice thing about the Slack pre-built message is it's simple to set up. We can just click this action. We can connect our Slack account. We could select our channel without guessing the channel ID by its ID or looking it up. We can just search for Clarity Bot, and you can see it knows the channel ID, which I believe is what the API is expecting. And then we'll just keep it simple. We'll just pass the image itself. Um, and I think Slack is smart enough to find an image, like given a URL, it just displays the image, not the URL, I think. Can I easily just copy a image URL from here? I guess I can use this URL as a test.
Those
Woo!
will, you see how the Amazon query string parameters are there because we give pre-signed URLs from the UI. But if you're doing this programmatically, that'll expire. Um,
Yeah,
so you will, I think, you will have
get
to fetch
blurriest
the
image.
data from
Let's
the.
just go ahead and, yeah, I get what you're saying. Files.open, and we'll give it our penguin. One thing about file stores I noticed recently actually is you can't easily copy the file name, which is what I care about. So I'm gonna do a little bit of HTML hackery here. And I'm just going to, oh, I can't easily, huh? Man. The closest thing I can do is grab it from the URL. like so. So that's one product thing I think we could potentially work on one of
Just a
these
copy
days.
button for the file name.
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
way to copy the file.
Yeah.
Um, we want to say to a URL, which will produce a like Dylan was saying, a pre-signed GET. And a pre-signed GET is just a secure way of accessing a S3 object. This URL will eventually expire, but for now we can copy the path to it. It's really, really long. The nice thing about using exports is by copying the path, it's much more readable, pasting into a different prop. We just worry about the path to that specific file. Cool. So we have a success, and look at that. I mean that is a really long
Yeah, we
message.
could don't we have a built-in file upload Slack action?
I don't know.
I think we do. If not, we can code it.
That is so cool. I'm learning so much already. So clarity. I keep saying clarify. It needs to be a temp. So we get to do some fun playing around here. So temp, and we can just pass in the file name like this. And this will cause the file store to download this to the local workflows file system. So now we're taking the file from the cloud storage and bringing it down inside of the file system of this workflow, which is kind of funny to think about. I mean, you're looking at this UI thinking like, okay, this is like a way to just pass data back and forth. You're not thinking that actually has file system. Well, it does, and it's that simple to interact with. And now our file has been downloaded to the local environment, and we can access it this way. Just slash temp is just open to read and write from. 2 gigs of storage, I believe, and we have it uploaded. Cool. Wow. Easy.
Hmm.
So, how do you know how to use a file within a message then?
Um, you want to get the message timestamp? Is that the
Oh, I'm just trying to. So now we've uploaded the file to Slack. How do I then use this uploaded file in the Slack message? Oh, wait, it makes a Slack message.
It does make a Slack message. I'm trying to figure out how to get the timestamp. Yeah, so that we can edit this.
Oh,
That is a good question. Let me see. We may have to delete and but that won't work with the thread. Um, go go back to Slack
okay.
and just start a message from this. Yeah, so that works fine. I'm just trying to simulate guesses now, right? And then yeah, how do we update that? There must be an update file or how do we get the message?
Maybe that message
Right.
timestamp as the ID, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
That is weird.
gonna try to look at the Slack API docs.
Oh, is this it? Under shares public, this channel. Is
Probably.
this the original?
That looks accurate. Let's give it a try.
Okay. So now we can send a message to a channel, but unfortunately, this doesn't accept a timestamp. I can't use that one. Um, is there like a reply to a
Apply.
message
Yeah,
thread?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thread timestamp. Clarity. Well, I kind of know the times. I know the channel ID from there. I'm just going to hack it while we wait. Um, hello from PD and Pipedream. That's just a test, just to see if this is in fact the same timestamp, which I hope it is. Aha!
Hmm.
Cool. So we
Hmm.
guessed this correctly. All right. So now we know that, I mean, the whole point of that test was to make sure that this path was in fact the timestamp of the original message. This is very important because we need to be able to update this image, deblurify or clarify it, and then also be able to listen to people guessing. So what we'll do is we'll use a data store, right? And we will update a record. Add or update a single record. We'll use our Clarity Bot data store. The key was that thread timestamp we defined way back when we first started playing with this. And then the value will be that crazy path that we found. I'm just going to search for TS in this Explorer. That's the trigger.
Yeah, it is under shared
Shares
public, I
public.
think. Scroll down a
Oh,
little
I
bit.
can't. I can't.
Oh,
So we found a really minor weird bug where if your object is too far nested down in the stack, it can't be selected, which is fine. We'll just copy it this way and paste it here. So now when I click test, it should upload this TS to our data store. If I go back to my data store, voila. This is what we need to store for the current game thread TS. Cool. So now let's think about the next step. Do our looping? Is this
let's
time
try
for
the
loop
looping. Yeah,
loop
let's see
time?
what happens.
Okay. Do some looping. Around and around and around. That's a joke from my son loves this show called Tractor Ted. And there's a song about going round and around and around. It's a very deep reference. Okay, so clarify loop.
I still want to see if the AI will do it.
Okay, let's play around.
Select an app.
Oh, right.
You can
Which
do it from
app do I
the
need to
AI too.
select?
Actually, if you edit with AI and then the very top, select an app.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Okay, cool. Um, rerun?
Slack, right?
Oh, because right, we're updating the original message with the
Yeah,
yes. I got
yeah.
you. Okay. So edit the existing code, and we want to one in a flow.rerun.
That can be called at the end, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean the main point is replace update the message at the thread TS timestamp with a different image, right? The new
Should we
image.
to maybe make it simpler too? I'm thinking as the game progresses, the thread will actually get pretty long. And so it might be nice. Like, should we post the new images as messages in the thread? Or should we update? I guess you will see.
Oh yeah, you're right. Look, if you put a bunch of messages in a thread, you can't see the very top.
Yeah, but you will see it on the left, the original image. And so if we update the
Yeah,
original,
yeah.
that will update. Either way, I
Yeah.
think it's fine. I'm just trying to simplify if replying to the thread with the new image makes it simpler, but let's try it with the update. See if the AI can get it.
Um, update.
I would also clarify in the first sentence, maybe say the the message at the root of the thread TS will be an image. It will be a file uploaded to Slack. Because I think that the API for updating that may be slightly different than for images. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. We might have, they may not support this. May not have to, we may have to do replies in the end,
Yeah.
but we'll
Yeah.
try it out. The message at the root of the TS will be a file uploaded to Slack. Update the message at the with the different image. The image is stored, the new image is stored within project's file store at so we need to give it props, I think, like
Yeah.
file name, like at
Let's say at
name.
a base path provided as a prop to this step. Because then they'll want to say um, the format of the base path will be X, right? And then the bracket number syntax or the blurred image, um, you'll want to figure out how to. I mean, do you want to list the files given this path, or do you want to control the file name just completely in code and then fetch that image? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the latter because flow.rerun has a context variable. So we could just reach like pass the the next image's blur level as a context.
Oh yeah, and then it just picks it up from there. Yeah, that's true.
So where's about to the step? The full file name is composed of the base path plus a level of blur as an integer.
Yeah, and give it an example too.
For example, um, the original base path is sunbathing penguin. I'm going to butcher the spelling right now. And the blur in the next iteration is 27.
I believe so.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
resulting file path is sunbathing penguin 30.wp.
27, right?
Oh, 27.
Um, yes. And then, yeah, to your point. So for people watching, we every execution of this step will happen once at a time, right? We're not doing a traditional loop where we loop through, sleep for a few seconds, then loop again through the same loop. In order to control this execution, we'll have to run through the loop once, update the file, call $.flow.rerun, get then the resume and cancel URLs that result from that. So that the whole goal is we need to be able to stop the loop at any given point. We don't have a way in Pipedream to call back into a normal loop that's just running through its iterations.
Mhm.
We don't want to do that. We have to use $.flow.rerun so we can say cancel the next execution. But like Pierce was saying, we need to pass that next execution the state of either the last or the next blur integer, right? That we need. And so that's where the context with $.flow.rerun comes in,
Mhm.
where since it's a totally new execution, it doesn't have access to that prior state. So we can't just decrement like we did in the other workflow, right? And that may be worth just like telling the AI right now, right? Like in the call. So I guess the next, what's next? We have to actually get the image, right? From
Oh,
the
yeah. So
store.
then retrieve the image from the project file store. The blurred image, I should make it more clear. The blurred image from the project file store at that generated path and update the messages file with this new message. It probably has to be downloaded to temp. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Download. Yeah. I would specify that. Download to temp and then upload that.
Upload.
The message. And I would just like specify just to make it super clear to the AI. I guess, yeah, upload that file, comma, replacing the original image. or the original file in that message. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Repeat this operation
I would say
up to
at the
10.
very end, call $.flow.rerun. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly.
And calculator has context for the next run.
Yep.
uh,
And also we need to rerun in 5 seconds, right?
yeah, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Delay the rerun by 5 seconds. I think this is a good start.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is a good start. We've described this pretty pretty well. The blur level needs to be dynamic. That's okay. We can mess around with that. And then, wow. All right. So form data. I didn't know it needed form data. I
Yeah,
trust it
when you
though.
call it that, that does look accurate, the files dot upload, but I don't know how.
Oh no. I can't select use this code.
Oh,
um,
that's a bummer. I guess just copy the code, right?
oh, regenerated. Yeah, I'll just copy the code when it's done.
It may work in V3 better, by the way.
Oh yeah. So V3 is our internal code word for the new Canvas-based editor, which is just a fancy way of saying you can drag and drop like nodes essentially. And the idea is that this edit, like the text editor, isn't just siloed to the current step, like in this linear fashion we have now. Instead, it'll be more like the S code where it's off to the right and you have multiple tabs. And it's much easier to swap between steps. And you don't have to worry about this Y overflow problem that's extending beyond the viewport of my screen right now. Um, hopefully I can copy. Oh no, I don't know if I can copy. This isn't selectable. Maybe I can
Try a
mess around
Command
with
C and see if
responsiveness.
it works.
Yeah, I'm trying Command C here, closing the thing. And whew, all right, cool. That was scary. So cool, cool, cool.
So it
We have the
doesn't look like it
file
got the
path.
file store. That may be my bad. I don't know if I actually ever updated the prompts, the AI code gen for the file store. So we should definitely do that. We may need to replace that part of it because you see how it's like files.pipedream.user content.dev, which definitely does not exist. Yeah, I'm
So
curious if I'll also look at the Slack file upload API to see if that's accurate, if you can pass a thread TS to update.
yeah, it'd be great. If not, we can just do a simple
Yeah.
reply to
Yeah.
thread. Um, and I will update the file retrieval. But the first thing I notice here is it's not reading from context, and we need it to read from context. And
Hmm.
by it, I mean the integer. So looking at the docs here, we can specify maximum retries and a delay between runs. And this special $ context gives you some more variables to play with. Um, it allows you to pass data between runs. It also allows you to see the current run that you're on. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to copy this from the docs. It'll be much easier. And then paste it in here. So max retries, we said 10 because 30 divided by 3 is 10. It might be 9 because we're not going to do it on the last run. We'll worry about that later. We'll add a delay of 5 seconds. So 1000 milliseconds times 5 is 5 seconds. And then we'll use this run to determine, I can't remember how to pass context. Oh, you can pass context just like that. So $.rerun, delay, context, and max retries. So we'll go down. Oh, we already knew that. That's crazy. It passed the context correctly. Um,
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. But I don't know.
Didn't get delay seconds though. You see, it put it in an object.
Hmm. And it also swapped context with delay. So
Yeah,
these two
exactly.
went backwards.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll look into all of that.
Okay. That's fine. But we just need to make a slight modification here to pass the delay. And the max number of retries, pass that too. Cool. Um, so we don't want to rerun on every single loop, right? Because that would make it go on forever and ever. We only want to do it on the first run, I believe. So if run dot runs run dot runs, yeah, see right here, it's line run dot runs equals 1, then we want to initiate this whole retry logic. Otherwise, don't do that. Okay, yeah. Now it's all coming back to me. So if it's the first one, we want to say rerun. On all others, we do the processing logic. So we're accepting the file path. We don't want the blur level. We're taking the original base path, which we can get from the data store, actually. So we'll get this from the data store. And a nice way you can interact with that data store from Node.js is adding a quick prop up here and just saying the type is a data underscore store. Clicking refresh fields up here at the top will tell Pipedream to refresh the fields, which allows us to connect our Slack account and select our data store, ClarityBot. And we could do things like select the channel, and the thread timestamp is that crazy long URL we found before. Here we go. Or not URL, but path. There it is. Cool. All right. I think we're pretty close. So we'll say const current or original equals this.data db.get. And where did we say in the data store that's going to be? We didn't yet. We need to set a current image, right?
Hmm.
We need to be able to reference that everywhere else in our workflow or in our workflows. So penguin sunbathing, I think, is
So
our original image name.
the slash command sets that, right? Or
Yes.
well, yeah,
Yes.
I
We
guess if provided, it would set it. Otherwise, it would have to grab a random one if there's no param passed, right?
Yeah, exactly. So start game. We should go ahead and just add this while we're here. It does configure the thread timestamp, but it does not update the record for the current image name. So we're going to update a single record, choose ClarityBot, and then the key will be the current image. The value will be, oh, yeah, we need to do the logic of actually defining this. Right now, we're hard coding it. All right, this is a proof of concept, so I will productize all this stuff later. But the idea is we need to pass in the original file name. So I'll just call this update current image. Test that. I'll go ahead and deploy this just so I don't forget. Great. So now the data store has the current image that we can use in other places, like this. And then It looks like I open this twice. That's okay. We'll get current image. Current image is the original file path. And then the context hopefully stores.
You want to wait in front of that, the get.
Good point. Yeah. Wait, this DB get. On the first run, we know for certain that the image is the 27. Yes, because our slash command creates the initial message with 30 as the blur. Then on the rerun 5 seconds later, yeah, I guess we don't need to run any logic on the very first run. We're gonna wait 5 seconds. We're gonna pass the iteration as context, and then we'll continue. So $.context.iteration. Now we could say iteration original dash blurred. I believe it was dash blurred, right? Go back to our game, go to the file store, blurred. Yep. With the iteration number integer as part of the path. And then we just need to upload the file or download the file locally, I guess. So we'll download the file by opening it. So const file.
So small typo, by the way, on line 33, iteration. You could just
Iteration.
destructure it too, right? From
Yeah,
.context.
that's true. If you want to be ES6 style, you do it like this. A little bit less typing. Now we need to download the file, right? So we'll just do a quick await files that open file path to file slash temp slash file path. It's actually kind of nice. And now we could say, oh, AI actually kind of made this easy. If I would have read it further down. Cool. Now, this is the part where I'm not sure about exactly.
So I looked this up, and I think it'll require two API calls. The first, I think the AI got it mostly right. I can take a look at the code for the action if we need, but um, in the data block that starts on line 48, remove channels and thread TS, because all we're going to do first is upload the file. And Slack supports uploading arbitrary files, not tied to a channel. So like the first one, we uploaded it directly to the channel, and that posted it to the channel as expected. In this case, we upload the file, and then we'll have to make a chat.update API call. So if you take a look at the docs for that, that allows you to um, update the original message TS, and chat.update supports passing a file ID. So you upload the file to get the file ID, and then you chat.update with the new file ID. And I think that may work.
Okay. Do you know if the file's upload needs to accept form data?
Let me look at the API docs.
Okay. So the first step, upload the new file. Second step, update the original.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is multi-part form is the default content type. So I would pass that.
Um, I don't need to import that form data library.
You may need to actually. Go to the public repo, take a look at the Slack upload action.
So this is where all of the code lives for those open source. It's open source. These actions and triggers that are kind of like pre-built within Pipedream. And we can go look over at Slack, for example. They're all in this components directory. If I look at the Slack component, and if I look in the actions, we can look for that upload file that we used earlier. Uh, Upload?
Scroll down. You see it?
Oh, you know what? The Zoom thing is blocking my view. There we
Oh,
go.
interesting.
Yeah. Zoom problems. Okay, so FS. Oh, the AI was correct. Create read stream. That's funny.
Yeah, and
So
you can
this dot
use, it may be
contact.
easier to use the Slack SDK like we do here.
Hmm. Okay. So the Slack SDK, Slack is the app file. And we could still pass this app file from Pipedream, right? From the app Pipedream slash Slack.
You could use that. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because the it looks like in the app file, we import and instantiate um, the SDK. And so you can use code very similar to, um, yep.
Not just Slack. It's mind warping. That is crazy. So every single component for an app that represents an app in Pipedream, we also publish a corresponding package. So I can just import it like so. And then the SDK method references that. I wonder if there's some kind of like bootstrapping. Is this going to work? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think it will. Let's take a look and see.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's comment this out. Still upload the file. But we're going to use.
And if it doesn't, we can just easily import the SDK ourselves and not rely on, because really, like, all it's doing here, right, is using the SDK provided by the app file, but we can just import the Slack SDK directly if we need.
Mm,
And
okay.
then yeah, remove channels. And I don't think we need the initial comment either.
We probably need to import FS. Okay. You know what's kind of a bummer is because this is within a rerun, it's not going to run. This second run is not going to run within the Devon, like within the JIT. Um, we might have to just,
Maybe comment out the rerun for now. We'll get the core logic, and then yeah, we can play around with that.
yeah, play with the core logic, and then we'll wrap the rerun later. Iteration might be broken though, because iteration, the $ context won't exist. That might break. I almost know for certain this will break. $context run, but run. Oh, I see. Iteration, $context. Can you assign a default value this way?
Yeah, you should be able to.
That's crazy. Okay. So we'll test that. We're setting a default because currently in our current implementation, we're skipping this whole rerun logic and just doing one pass at it, and then we'll re-enable rerun once we're happy with the results.
Try refreshing the page real quick. Sometimes the editor gets into this is something that I think we're fixing in V3 too, but the editor can get into a weird state. I think they're, oh,
I
interesting.
copied the code
Okay, okay.
just in case. I copied the code.
Yeah, good, good.
Error communicating with the file stores. No such key. So it's not happy because maybe the file path is wrong. I like to do this
Maybe,
pattern here where I just export. So that way
yeah,
I can
did you
kind of
put
debug.
blurred in the file names?
Thought I did.
You did,
Blurred.
yeah, yeah. Oh, wait, go back to the code. You've got an extra hyphen between blurred and the bracket.
Look at Dylan keeping me honest. So many typos. I just want TypeScript to dynamically work with every variable I make. Wow. Okay, so we have the similar um, pattern here. It is going to make a new message, right?
No, so
Huh.
this is where it just uploads the file to your workspace. Then
Oh.
we'll want to make a chat.update call. So from that response, the upload res in file.id. Yep. Then we can use the same this.slack.sdk to make the chat update call with the Slack Node.js SDK.
See. Wow, that is such a cool pattern. Like, so we could just say update response. I can say res for short. Await this dot slack dot SDK chat update.
Yep.
Guessing here.
Chat.update. And it takes a channel, the TS of the message to be updated, and then file underscore IDs is an array. And in this case, it'll just be the single file. Let's see if that works.
Wow. All right, so I did pass the channel. Okay,
The
so
thread
this
TS prop, right? Oh yeah, and the channel
uh,
prop too.
this dot red TS, or did I look that up from the file store?
No, you passed it
Oh,
as a prop.
okay.
Yeah. Although I guess once we save it, no, I don't know if you did save that in the data store actually. But yeah, you passed it as a prop anyway. So,
No text.
oh, is text required?
It must be. I mean, there technically is text um, here, I think.
That's just the name of the file, actually.
Huh.
Well, we could, I
So we
mean, we
found,
could add text. Here's the image.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Text is we can even do some math and say like current iteration, what would be the percentage to calculate the percentage there? Iteration 27, 30 divided by 27 would be the 1 minus 30 divided by 27 is the current blur percentage.
Mm-hmm. Um, if you look at the API docs later, we can do this after the stream, but chat.update accepts it must have one of text, attachments, or blocks. Oh, look at
The
that.
percentage is totally off, but
Look
yeah.
at that.
So it did a little bit better.
You may be able to avoid the text if you pass the image as a Slack block, but that's like polish, you know. Obviously, this works now. So,
Cool. What did I do wrong? So 30 is the whole number. Iteration divided by 30 will give you the percentage. Yes. And then one minus that should be like, whatever percentage that ends up being. We'll find out. Interesting. Oh, times by 100. Ugh. And then math dot floor or whatever it's called. Math dot round, maybe. Round to the nearest integer.
yeah. Yeah.
JavaScript math is weird. Negative
Need to do the,
89%.
I believe you need to do the times 100
Oh, 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 oh. After
uh,
that operation.
with another paren. Yeah, just to keep the order of operations right.
Hmm. Oh, I see. So I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
like
exactly.
this.
Exactly.
PEMDAS was a long time ago. Should be blur level 89%. Still says negative 89%. One minus that.
Well, the iteration is that's always going to hold a negative value, right? Because iteration is 27 at this point. 27 divided by 30 is less than 1. So you're doing oh no, sorry. So yeah, what is anyway, you'll figure that one out.
Yeah, this is
Um,
I'll throw this up after
but
the
I
stream.
think we got the bones of it, you know? And then we need to do the flow dot rerun to automate the loop and
Hmm.
then yeah, do the guesses.
Right. Do we need to I always need a refresher on dollar rerun. So on our first run, it's not going to do anything besides queue up the next run in 5 seconds with the current iteration.
I don't
Uh,
think you need that logic actually. I think you
no,
can just call that at the end of your existing code.
let's give it a shot. So this blur level, is that even a thing? Not anymore, right? So we would have to say iteration minus iteration. Yes. So that way we're going from 27 down to 24, down to 23, down, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 24 down to 21. We can't really test flow.rerun. We just have to deploy it. But one thing I'm noticing here, we need to have a cancel URL stored. So when
Yes.
you call $.rerun, it'll also return a cancel URL, and we can use this data store to set the cancel URL to this new one. And now when someone guesses the correct answer in our third workflow, that will cause this, that will cause this flow.rerun to suspend or cancel. And the game will be, that round will be done.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Did we do it? That's crazy.
Almost, yeah. Um, Want to test the rerun logic in broad end to end, but I think we're pretty close.
Yeah. Um, I'm super impressed that this is doable in one workflow. We're uploading a file, the original blurred image, the 30 blur, and this just takes one loop in theory
Yeah.
to do all that logic of updating it.
You could probably even combine that initial upload, and just handle some of that logic conditionally. But it's nice that we can use the pre-built action for it. So,
True. Yeah, you probably could consolidate that down into one code step if you'd like.
I mean, really, all workflows, I guess, could all be one code step. But the benefit is you get the pre-built actions for all the other stuff. So,
True. I'm not sure if this, ooh, failed to fetch. I don't know why we
what
got,
line is that?
it doesn't say a line.
Open details. Um,
Markdown.
that is interesting.
I've never seen that before.
Huh, is that for the file store image? That's odd.
I'm gonna try again.
Um, I actually have to run right now, but this was a great stream, and I'm glad we made this much progress. Do you want to sync up later on the finishing up the game?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that again. It's actually lunchtime here in my time, and I am starving. So I am going to take a step out. Yeah, so we'll just reconvene later this afternoon and do the last workflow, which will complete the game, and I'll do some of the polishing behind the scenes, the more boring stuff. But we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Pierce.
Thanks, Dylan. See you later.